Hello, everyone. We're back again for doing a bit of play testing for this is something that I totally wrote for a game jam on Itch. It's based off of the Bound by Tension game system, and the setting we're going for is kind of like a Weird West. Uh, I leaned a lot more into the horror for this sort of thing, and I'm just going to go ahead and read the cats for it right now. Joining me this week is in my upper left-hand corner, I've got Aaron. Want to say hi?
Hello.
In the other corner, I've got Eric,
Hello.
and in the last corner, I've got Rachel. If you love their lovely faces, you can check out them doing other actual play tests for Mutant City Blues, which right now I want to tell you guys, whether you know this or not, it is my most viewed series ever put together so far. So you should be really proud of yourselves. Good job. And they're just getting done. I have to do a recording of the episode that we couldn't record. Just like a little like, hey, this is what happened, and then done there. So that's been awesome. So we're getting ready to start up a new. I think we're going to do just like one scene. This is going to be a true play test sort of situation. We're using, like I said, the chassis of the game is from Wound by Tension, totally stripped down, made a lot easier. And I'm just going to read off what the cats are: the concept, aim, and tone. So welcome, Legends of the Khurst Riders. This is my submission for the Wound by Tension 2024 Game Jam. I originally made it with the idea because you guys have played a lot of Wound by Tension stuff now at this point. I originally made it to have you guys keep track of your own tension tables, and then like once it got to five, it would pop and something big happens, not just no longer any small stuff, but something big. The more I got into it, the less like I don't trusting. Like I know you guys could do it, I think, but I also feel as the game master, it's probably more my responsibility to tell you to keep track of when bad things are going to happen to you. So here's what we did. Um, the idea is that for the concept that each one of your characters is going to be an immigrant from the old world. This is going to be around the time of the cowboys, set a little bit earlier, alternate history around the 1830s, I think I'm going to go with. And I am playing around with the time a little bit, so we are going to do like maybe some cameras are going to be invented a little bit earlier than they should have been. Some stuff a little bit later, and all that. So the immigrant, the place that you're from, which you'll get to choose, this counts as any non-American culture. Now, each of you are going to be cursed. You have fled to the newly formed Khurst Territories with the aid of the Baroness, who now demands a payment of 10 souls from you each. The characters are haunted by what you have done before coming to America, and you are hopefully finding redemption in the new frontier. Now, there's two different things that are happening there that we'll get into more when we start doing character stuff. This is session 0 for building your characters. Is that your curse is that you are cursed with a bloodline, a lineage of maybe you're a lycanthrope, of like a werebear or a werewolf or a werecheetah or whatever, right? Or maybe you're a skin shifter, where you take on the appearance of other people and take on their memories and stuff like that. Or maybe you're dead. Maybe you're just the Walking Dead. And what I did is I went around and tried to take all of these different folklore tropes from as many different cultures as I could, and I kind of laid them out and I put them into 6 categories. So that's going to be your tribal curse that you have, right? When things go bad, you may develop more powers through your curse, but if you ever get too far along on that, you no longer are playing a human. You've turned into that feral savage werewolf, or as the Walking Dead, like, no, I'm a full vampire now, and I'm no longer a playable character. Now, the other thing that you have is called your haunt. Your haunt is you did something dire, horrible, horrific, and part of your not penance, I don't want to say that. So the Baroness has helped each one of you escape your own old country world that you were living in because you were going to get persecuted in some way, either hung or on the hunt or something like that. Part of the bargain that she said is like, you owe me 10 souls. And what I can do for you, though, is that I can take your memories of the thing that you are horrified that if you know the full truth of what you did, it would drive you mad. So you are haunted by something and you don't know exactly what that haunt is. So this will be linked into the tension table. If you trigger 5 haunts before you've paid off your soul debt to redeem yourself, then you're going to tell us the full story. So one nice thing about it is that don't come up with what you did yet. While we're creating our characters, we're going to give you a couple guidelines. They're going to give you an idea of what it may be. So then if you roll on the tension table and your haunt comes up, you have to address it right there. And I'm going to ask you a question. And it's going to, the first question I'm going to ask you for each one of you on your haunt is, what did the Baroness have to do to get you out of whatever situation you're in? And how does it relate to the scene that you're in right now? So things are going to be changing. That's why you can't even if you wanted to make up exactly what you did, it probably wouldn't fit for everything that you're doing. So it's going to be a little bit of improv at that point. And also, of course, when that's happening, you have to do what is the possible worst thing you could do in that situation. In the playtest I did previously, the haunt went off. They were trying to do a stealthy part of the situation. They saw something and they pulled part of their haunt, which was it was a family member of theirs that they freed, which became a much larger evil in their old world countryside where they lived. And there was like a bamboo cage there that kind of related to what was going on. And so then they just started screaming, like, don't let her out, don't let her out. And so alerted the guards, and that was part of their haunt process. So those are the two things. Okay. And that's kind of the concept that we're going for. Okay. Now, the aim is in order to pay back the Baroness, you have taken the role of a Khurst Rider. You do her bidding as a way to pay down your soul debt. The characters are obliged to form a posse and carry out the tasks on her behalf until the debt is paid. Tasks can range from like tracking down a wanted or dangerous beast, like a soulless demon, solving a territory dispute between land barons that are using the damned as workforce, or even converting someone to your side. But really, the real danger is probably going to be yourselves for most of the time. I want the players to bring in your past into the present either by telling the stories, introducing world building, or having their curse affect the current saga. Each character will have a redemption arc available to them if they want to fulfill it. Right now, I just want to kind of explore the strange land. The tone I'm going for, I'm leaning towards action adventure that dips into horror. With a little bit of playtesting I've gotten to do, it dipped more into horror than I thought it would. So it's going to be like if you're uncomfortable with body horror and stuff like that, we'll talk about X card in lines for what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. There's certain things that I can talk about right away, like any sort of on-screen child abuse, I will not do, period. It's not going to happen. But there can be, as part of the veil going, like it can be mentioned as something that maybe happened in the background. Like this is a bad person because they beat someone, you know, but it's never going to be on screen in front of us. Okay. The other stuff for me like that is any sort of coerced sexual situation that's never going to be on screen. It's just not going to happen. Um, Other than that, I myself, that's where I'm at. So that gives you kind of an idea for you guys to think about where you're comfortable with, you're not comfortable with enough. I will say probably for the first 2 adventures that I've got put together, should be pretty good. But one thing about body horror that you have to remember is like think of, is there like an animal like that you just like if I even bring it up, you're like, no, I can't I can't do the scene, period. You know? So think about stuff like that. We got I I did a well, I oh hi. All right. Good night, honey. So that's one of the reasons. Night, night, Murphy. um, that scared me half to death, especially when I was talking about creepy crawly stuff. Oh my God. Um, one of the I played in a game last week where like centipedes. I am fine. I can handle talking about centipedes and all that, but it did skeeve me out. But I was fine with it. But that is the one insect that I cannot handle in real life. Millipede, fine. Centipede, no. Spiders, fine. Whatever it is, I don't know why. So something to think about. So yeah, it is a little bit more horror. Um, the other thing we're gonna look at for tone is that I want your stories because you're gonna be like a little bit bigger, like folklore type stories. You guys are the characters that are larger than life. You are stronger than the average human. I want the stories to be a little bit larger than life, being told around like a campfire as like millions of stars shine down. Magic does exist in the form of strange dark mysticism or miracles from a higher power. The damned walk the earth in desolate and abandoned areas. And yeah, I like when you're in a scene, I want like the tumbleweeds going by and like as you're tracking down like a wayward sinner. One nice thing about the system that you guys have played before and you know about it, it translates easily into mysteries like seances and creepy buildings, espionage stuff like train barons that are getting too close. From a brief brainstorm session, I've come up with some ideas about territory stuff between families, showdown with a corrupted creature, and bounty that leads to the mouth of hell. So these are all kind of things I'll be looking at. Here is the biggest thing that we need to be worried about, especially with our backgrounds, fairly limited. We've a lot of us have gotten to travel the world at some point in time, but being respectful of other cultures and religion is going to be at a premium. The clashing and understanding of cultures is an essential conflict to this because we're going to have old world magic folklore, modern day, more or less Christianity called something else, right? And then at some point in time, we're also going to mix in I don't want to call it folklore, but the tribal belief of the Native Americans in there too. So you're having these like three very different backgrounds and cultures intermingling. Doesn't always have to be a clash, but this is sort of the stuff we're going to be talking about. So this is something that we need to talk about. Like, do we want these to be real countries that you guys are from? And maybe do a little bit of research of like, you know what? I read about this type of folklore monster in like Jamaican mythos. And I think that's kind of what kind of creature I want to be. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. As long as you treat it respectfully, I'm absolutely fine with that. As long as you think you can do a good job with it, I am too. Okay. So otherwise, it is a lot easier just to do an alternate history, also alternate country naming, and be like, well, it's kind of like that, but it's not that country at all. Then we can do whatever. We can also then make our folklore monsters totally crazy, whatever we want. Like, it's got 5 arms and flies and whatever. Like that's the thing I turn into every once in a while. So, so that's something to think about. The final thing is the inspiration on here. It's tough not to cite favorites like Tombstone and Penny Dreadful, but I think the feeling is going to be a lot darker. Have any of you seen Bone Tomahawk? It just got back out on like Netflix or somewhere like that. Um, it's disturbing. It I would say it's not going to be for everyone. The cannibalism in it is graphic. Uh, in the Wild West is portrayed as just this absolute brutal place. It's got Matthew Fox in it though. It's got a lot of actors that you really like and you appreciate. Like uh, Kurt Russell is the main guy in it. Like it's really well done, but it's kind of tough to watch. um, so it's gonna be a little bit darker, like Bone Tomahawk, the Burrowers, or the Old Gods of Appalachia. If you haven't listened to that podcast, it's worth checking out the first season at least. Really can see that kind of old timey feeling of old gods and dark woods. And one thing that I during my search on here is I can't believe there aren't more cowboy werewolf movies. Like there's zero, as far as I can tell. Like it seems so easy to do.